A worldwide condemnation and popular anger over the aggression of the Israeli occupation army against thousands of Palestinian worshippers in the blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque said that wounded 136 people.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas condemned the intrusion on the mosque and called on occupation troops to preserve Palestinians' rights to practice their sacred religious rituals, stressing the illegal threats to Palestinian occupied territory represents a violation of international law, undermining the chances of reaching a two-state solution and threatening the foundations of security and stability in the region. More with Yumna Sayed.
Palestinian, Arab and international reactions continued, condemning the current events in Al-Aqsa Mosque, the occupation forces' assaults on worshippers and storming its courtyards, and the attempts to forcibly displace the residents of Al-Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood in occupied Jerusalem and confiscate their homes. In this context, President Mahmoud Abbas held the Israeli occupation government fully responsible for what is happening in Jerusalem and the consequences thereof, and requested an emergency session of the UN Security Council to implement its decisions related to Jerusalem and the protection of the Palestinian people.
Israel's policy in the use of radical discrimination and the displacement policy towards our people will not pass. And from here, we call on the Palestinian factions to unite against all the liquidation practices, and most of all, the Judaizing efforts of Jerusalem. And we call upon the international community to interfere immediately to protect the Palestinian people from the repeated attacks on Al-Aqsa Mosque, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip. What happens in Jerusalem will certainly lead to a large escalation extending to the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and the 48 lands, because the Palestinian people will not allow the occupation to continue these practices against our holy Jerusalem.
In the same context, the United Nations and a number of international countries condemned the Israeli occupation forces' assault and aggressions, especially in these blessed days of the holy month of Ramadan, describing it as illegal and that it levels to war crimes and will surely increase the escalation of violence and tension in the region.
What the Israeli occupation is doing is a flagrant violation of all international agreements. This requires immediate and urgent intervention in order to provide international protection for the rights of the Palestinian people, their property and their holy sites, as well as work towards ensuring that there is legal accountability and punishment for the Israeli occupation state.
From Gaza, the Palestinian faction threatened the continuation of the Israeli occupation in its aggression against the blessed Aqsa Mosque and the people of occupied Jerusalem, and announced the return of all means of popular resistance on the borders with the Gaza Strip as a first step to respond to these blatant attacks.
Israel's continuous aggressions and violations towards the Palestinian people require an immediate action by the international community to pressure Israel to stop these violations. For KTV2, this is Yumna Sayed, Gaza, Palestine.